for our listing presentation, objection handling, going through the process that I go through when it comes time for listing presentations and what that looks like. So in the scheme of listings, listing presentations, I think to me, it's a science. There's some important ingredients that comes with this in reference to listings. I think to me, it's a game. I think it's a strategy going into it. We talked a lot about the pre-listing packet and how my pre-qual on last month in December. We talked about it in the how I send out my pre-listing packet, my pre-qualification questions, the order I ask my questions in, why I ask those questions, so I can get placement on understanding where I need to be. Meaning, if it's driver, influencer, and a quick little recap, remember those people make instantaneous decisions, so I'm trying to meet with them right in the beginning. If it's an analytical person, when I'm doing my pre-qual, I want to meet with them when? At the end? Right? I want to meet with them at the end of the at the end of their appointments, because they're very loyal. I don't want to, it's hard to fight the objection. Well, I want to wait till I hear everybody before I make a decision. No, just strategize yourself to be able to make to be at the end, so that way they can hear everybody. So the pre-qual to me is so very important. And for those that didn't get the pre-qual, we have been emailing everybody that's been on our coaching programs, but sometimes we've noticed that it's gone to spam. So if you have not gotten the pre-qual, make sure in the text here in the chat box you put in there that you haven't received the pre-qual, and we will make sure that we get it to you. So once you have the pre-qual and you got it done, my last thing before I go to the appointment is I do a quick confirmation and just reach out to them and confirming that I will see you at this time. Now, my mindset when going into this, I like my listing appointments to be only 45 minutes. Okay, 45 minutes is the only time is the time limit that I pretty much give myself. Why? It's because I'm in there for a business meeting, not there to hang out, have some drinks, and relax. It's a business meeting, and that's the mindset that I have going into it. Now, if for those of you, just to let you know, if you have any questions, if you have anything, put it in the chat. Jay will be working with me to help me out. Since I am driving, feel free to unmute yourself as well, and you could just ask me a question. This is very important, guys. You're going to be interviewed, so I want you guys to ask me some questions, so that way I can make sure you have the information you need in reference to this listing presentation. So forgot to get a little housekeeping taken care of. So my listing presentation, once I confirm it and I get there, I like to do a quick 30-second review of the house. I take a look at the neighbors. I take a look at the street, depending on how early I get there. You know, obviously in a perfect world, I like to get there 10 minutes early, but sometimes because of my personality, I'm flying in there right at the time period I need to be in there. But I like to know the neighborhood. I like to know how far I am from the pool. I like to know if there's any common areas. I like to know what the playground looks like. I'm inspecting and looking at all those ingredients, because I might need those tools, might need that conversation when I go in there, because they might say, have you been in the pool? Oh, yes, I noticed that it's 2 blocks down. Boy, that seems like an easy walk. Okay. I use that to be able to separate myself, because maybe they said that to somebody else and the other person says, no, I haven't seen your pool. Something that small could shift you to being able to win that listing presentation. So to me, the details matter most. So my listing presentation, for those of you who are taking notes, comes into 3 parts. Now, let me preface this. You can talk to 5 listing presentations. You can talk to all the gurus that do listings. Everybody has their own way of doing it. So what I share with you, mine, it doesn't mean it's set in stone. It's just what's worked for me to be able to earn over a 90% conversion. And I've been using this for years, so that's why I keep it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is what my grandpa used to say. So the 3 parts, mine, number 1 is the tour. Number 2 is get into the table. That's where I talk about money. Number 3 is the close. All right, now, if I have an analytical person, please make an asterisk between number 2 and number 3. I have to add some marketing into the conversation. Analytical people want to hear the marketing and your sales strategy. Now, somebody can unmute themselves, and let me ask you this question. Why do I not really do that with the D's and the I's? Why do I skip the marketing set on D's and I's?
So your D's would be that they just want the headlines. So you're just going to give them the headlines. And your I's, they're the people that aren't they the friendly, warm people? So you want to be doing the friendship thing there.
Yep, absolutely. Drivers really don't care. They just want you to sell your house. They really give a you-know-what, whether or not what you do. They just want you to sell it. So the more you talk about yourself and your marketing and your beautiful brochures, you're losing them, okay? The emotional people in reference to that, remember, it's a time period. They don't really care. They care, but they don't. They just want to talk. So I'm just wasting time in that conversation. Remember, efficiency of time. Because talkers, you're going to be there for 2 hours. Oh, I was at this listing appointment for 2.5 hours. Oh, my Lord, you just wasted time. You could have been prospecting. So D's and I's, I skip marketing. Now, if they ask me a question, I will answer it. Analytical people, you have to go over it. Well, could you tell me a little bit how you're going to sell the property? Now, I know going into it whether or not I have to have my analytical conversations. So here's a couple analytical marketing tips I would share with you. One is I say the word boots on the ground. I use the phrase boots on the ground. Learn how to explain boots on the ground. What does that mean for you? And us, that means we typically like to door knock 10 homes to the left, 10 homes to the right, 10 homes on the same side of the street. We're going to be boots on the ground. Our feet are going to be walking. We're going to make sure that we're going to be having conversations with people. Typically, when I do boots on the ground, here's a little side note, a little inside tip. I like to do it when they're home. Meaning I like to know when the seller's home, hey, are you going to be home? I'm going to be coming by, drop off a sign. And as I shared with you in my listing presentation, I'm going to be door knocking some of the neighbors, and I just wanted to see if you were home. Why is that? Why is that important, you think? Why do you think I do that? Does anybody have a guess why? There's no wrong answer.
So that they see you.
Yes, I want to show off. I tell you what I do, now I want to show you what I do. If you do it when they're not home, they don't really know. Was he really there? Was he not there? I don't know. And the neighbors, sometimes the neighbors will even tell you, hey, your real estate agent came over. Man, you got yourself a good one. Where'd you find that person? Right? And when they see you working, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm doing contracting work, I had a dishwasher installed the other day. If I came into the kitchen several times while I was working and I looked at the guy and he was just sitting on his phone and he's just dilly-dallying around, I'm gonna be like, hey man, why aren't you working? Painting, install my dishwasher, get it done. I don't have all day. We like to see people we hire, we like to see them working. We're not any different. So we like to do boots on the ground, okay? Geoportal dialing, it's another word that I use, geoportal dialing, write that down. All right. Somebody remind me when it comes into the scripts here shortly during the marketing, but those are the two main ones, geoportal dialing and boots on the ground. There's a lot of other things you could say during your marketing period, but I think that those are the two main ones that a lot of people don't say when it comes time for, because, you know, everybody, oh, I'm going to do professional pictures, I'm going to do a drone, I'm going to do an open house. Those are all pretty similar. Like everybody's going to say that. So those are two things I like to add when I'm doing it. So let's get back to the beginning. So number one is the tour. I always do a tour. I take a look at their feet first. I make sure if the sellers both have their shoes on, then I keep my shoes on. If one of them have their shoes off and the other one has their shoes on, I take my shoes off. And if they both have their shoes off, both my shoes go off. Little things like that. I don't ask, I observe, I take notice, and guess what happens? If I take my shoes off and they're not in that position, if one person has them on, the other person has them off, the other person, don't worry about that, you're fine. But see, we show courtesy, we show respect at that juncture when we're doing that. So shoes off or on just depends on the environment of what I'm looking at. If they have their shoes on and there's only one person, then I keep my shoes on. But remember, in our pre-qual, we're making sure all the decision makers are there. So typically there's two. Now, once we get into that, we're gonna go for a tour. I usually have two folders with me. One folder stays on the kitchen table. I go to the kitchen table or dining room table. If they say, hey, where would you like to sit? I said, I prefer either the kitchen table or the dining room table, whichever one you like. I do not sit on the couch because this is a business meeting, not a relaxed conversation. All right. So it's very important that we understand that you're meeting at a table. Now, when I do a tour, the reason why I do a tour, everybody has differences. They say, hey, sit down at the table. Let me walk around the house. They say, let me put it in the buyer's perspective, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's different, guys. And you're going to hear different people say different things. I like the tour. I like to lead the tour because I like to know a little bit about them. I might relate to their kids. I might relate to their college. They usually have diplomas up. They have something hanging up. I'll be able to point out things. I'm looking at the ceiling. A lot of people keep their head looking straight. Think about a grocery store. Where's your lowest level of usually product? At the bottom, okay? In real estate, our problems are usually at the bottom or way at the top. Either roofs are leaking, scratch marks, dents, all those things take place below and up top. I'm making those notice. I'm pointing those things out. I'm noting, hey, I saw this, this brown ring up here. Can you talk to me a little bit about it? Wow, didn't even notice that. Okay, well, this is one of the things we're gonna need to take a look at the roof. I'm looking in the air filter vents. I'm seeing how clean they are. I'm telling them if they're not clean, you need to get them clean. Why? Because the person's gonna think an analytical buyer is gonna be like, oh my gosh, they probably haven't even cleaned their HVAC. We need a new air conditioning unit. This house needs a new air conditioning unit. It's probably been running hard. So I reduce red flags. And then I tell them, hey, make sure you get this cleaned out, please. Make sure you get new air filters. Make sure you clean these baseboards up. It looks like there's a lot of dog hair, cat hair over here. Let's get this cleaned up. I'm telling them what to do on their house. Why? I set the expectations. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, just want to let you know, I'm going to share with you some things throughout the house that are going to help sell your property. Are you okay with that? I mean, the question's asked on purpose because I know that they're going to, well, of course, that's why we hire you. But see, sometimes we don't even acknowledge that, but I'm just trying to share with them, hey, this is what I'm here for. This is what you hire me for. I'm going to share with you some things. I'm going to look at window seals, see if there's any thermal seals. I'm looking for caulking, black algae in the bathrooms, see if there's wood rot down below. And if their house is pristine and in immaculate condition, I am freaking talking it up like no other. Man, you guys, this is phenomenal. This house is amazing, right? So that is why I do the tour. Now, I told you my presentations are 45 minutes. The tour is where you can lose it all, everybody. Couple key things with the tour. I like to lead. When I lead, I'm very cautious when I'm in bedrooms, meaning that if I get stuck in a bedroom and I'm in the bedroom and they're holding the door, meaning they're standing in the doorway, guess what? If I got an eye, they're going to talk their entire ear. I'm going to be cornered. So when I go into rooms, I try to only poke my head in so it looks like there's not even enough room for them to come in. I don't need to go into the entire bedroom. I know what a bedroom looks like. So I'm poking my heads in the bedroom so I don't get cornered. I'm always leading. I try to go up the stairs first. I try to go out the backyard first. I'm always leading so that way I can go at my pace. If I let them lead and you got an eye or an analytical person, you might as well just pack a lunch and get some water because you're going to be there for a while. So you got to be very careful of that when it comes time for that type of stuff when you're going through your tours. But I love tours. It gives me an opportunity to really build rapport. Remember, some of these people I just met, as well as if I didn't meet you, I also want to make sure I'm rekindling a conversation. If you're a past client, revisiting a couple things to making sure you're just, oh, wow, I can't believe how fast the kids are growing. Boy, I remember when they were this age. All right, just a really good opportunity to blend that. Now, anybody have any questions on the tour side of things?
I got a question, Brock.
Yes, Jim, what's up, buddy?
So when you're doing this tour, you're calling out some of the stuff that may need to be looked at. Are you doing that to show your expertise? My worry in that is I don't have a relationship. I haven't met them, and I'm coming in and talking negative about their house. Have you
So,
had any of those experiences, or could you share your thoughts? Just because I worry about that sometimes.
yep. So I want you to transfer from a scarcity mindset to abundance mindset and come with confidence. Listen, I'm just going to tell you something. I talk about furniture. I talk about moving stuff out. My job is to sell your house, Mr. and Mrs. Sutter. Are you okay? I'm going to be pointing out some things. I'm not trying to, pinpoint every little flaw that you have in the house. We're going to talk about both. But it's very important that if there's some things in here that we can point out and fix before we have a buyer come through here to save you some money, are you going to be okay with that? So it's about your presenting to them. If all you do the entire time, and obviously you have a newborn, but as the newborn gets older, Jim, you're not going to be always nitpicking every single thing. You're going to influence with positive correction, positive feedback, corrective feedback. You're not going to be negative Nelly the entire time. So if you're saying something negative like, hey, this, and this, just say, man, but you know what? Your backyard's amazing. I really love this as well. So you're doing it to be able to help them sell their property. And when you set the stage, like these are important items so we could sell your home. Are you okay with me having these conversations? Majority of the time, this is what I normally hear. Thank you for saying, especially expireds. Thank you for saying that. Our other agent didn't even say anything. We just want somebody to be transparent and truthful with us. Most people love honesty, right? So they just want to be honest. They just want to be honest and have that. They want you to be honest and have that conversation with them.
Totally makes sense. I think I need to pre-frame better and
Yes.
continue to stay positive. Sometimes I go to that negative route and it's like boom, 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 boom,
Right. Right. Oh my God. Like, I mean, even the houses that are really bad, I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna, like, for those that go with me on my listing presentation, sometimes I'm like, oh boy, this one's gonna be a tough one. Like, I'm scared to put, I feel bad for my shoes right now because it's so bad. But at the same token, you just got to be positive when it comes time for it. I mean, I had one lady, literally we were moving furniture around. Like, it was Christmas time. We were rearranging some different things, and they honestly don't care because why? We have their best interest, and when we make them feel that, they'll let you do whatever it is. So does that help?
It does. Appreciate it.
Anybody else got any questions on the tour? All right. So when we go to the table, all right, D's and I's don't bring out a lot of pieces of paper. Okay. Make your papers really like very, very small, meaning I have my market analysis, I have my seller net sheet, and then I have what is a timetable. For those of you that want my pre-listing packet, you want to see my pre-listing packet, it's about 36 pages. If you want it, put your phone number in the chat and we will text it to you because I have it in a link. It's just easier because I like to send it to clients. We email it and text it to them, so that way they have it from both angles. So if you want to, put your phone number in the chat and we will make sure we get it over to you. But I have a timetable of why I do certain things, meaning like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and we have a formula for that. So when I'm there, the D's and the I's, they only get, like, really everybody pretty much only gets the small, like only like 3 pieces of paper: seller net sheet, CMA, and then my timetable of what I'm looking at for property, on what that, meaning like my 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, and my listing packet. Those are the 3 things that I show. Anything more than that, people can't handle it. They get confused. Analytical people, trust me, they'll ask you all the questions you need, so you don't need to worry about it. They will ask. All right. So when you do that and you're presenting it to it, I put it in front of them. Here's a key thing. If you don't have a seller net sheet, that I have to email it over to you. Put your email address in the chat and just say seller net sheet, and we'll share with you a seller net sheet. I give my seller net sheet, so it doesn't matter what state you're in. I use it in New York and in Florida right now. So if you want it in South Carolina, we use it as well. So if you want our seller net sheet, feel free to reach out to us. We'll get it over to you. But that seller net sheet is so very important. All right. When I'm presenting this, the seller net sheet, there's 3 of them. One goes to the, if there's 2 sellers, one to the wife, one to the husband, and I have one too. Why is that? Is because we know statistically if one person is a D, the other person's analytical. Needless to say, opposites attract. So when that takes place, we want them each to have their own piece of paper because they're hovering over each. Honey, I can't see it. Wait a minute. I want to take a look at this. I'm writing this down. So we eliminate that by everybody gets their own seller net sheet. And then they all feel like here's one for you, here's one for you, because we know everybody wants to look at their own piece of paper. Oh, wow. Thank you so much. See, I'm a big advocate of the little things. So and then send that to them. Okay. I go over the seller net sheet is typically the first thing I look at. I start talking about the numbers. Why? Is because they want to see their bottom line. Guys, you could talk about anything under the sun. You guys can BS your way around the entire process. But most people want to see what? Their bottom line number. That's what they want to see. That's what they came for. And that's what they want to look for. And that's what they want to ask you. What is my bottom line number? So I go straight into it. And I share my range. And then if they have questions about the range, then I go to the CMA. And I share with them my CMA. And in this period of time, I would put a star next to this right here. And I would say, this is when you need to start talking about your price improvement plan. At the tables, when you're going to start discussing your price improvement plan, to be able to share with them your price ranges. Because on our seller net sheet, we have 3 columns. And we start off where they want to go and where we possibly can end up, as well as our price improvement plan to share with you. We like to start here, but in 17 days, we can go here. And then in 14 days, we can go here. Most analytical people like a price improvement plan. Price improvement plan is also known as price decreases, but price improvement plan just sounds better. All right. When we're in this, let's just call it out how it is. When we are in this period, do not make a huge thing about your commission. I go through my conversation just like it's normal. In my pre-qual, I ask them for their balance of their home. So I pretty much already know their balance of their property when I'm there. So I'm sharing this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I have your house listed here for $400,000. You owe $225,000 on the home. When we move down here, we have to pay an attorney. These are those fees for the attorney. We have our commission at 6%. We have the excise tax. We have the wiring fees, the courier fees. We have whatever other fees that you want to put on here. We have the list. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, when it's all said and done with, and when we sell your home, your bottom line range is going to be anywhere from $117,000 to $100,000. Here's the question I want you to write down, because that's exactly how it is. It doesn't take a long period of time. It's short and sweet. It's a mathematical problem. I break it down. When I get to it, my question is this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, how do these numbers look for you? And then I step back because I'm leaning into the table at that point. And then I lean back and I sit back in the chair. I did say one thing that I forgot to mention to you guys. When I'm having, when I'm dealing with, when I'm going to these, to the house, people always ask me, do you want water? And I do say yes to water, because at this point here is when I grab a sip of water and I say, how do you think, are these the numbers that you thought? How do they look to you? And then I sit back and I have my water. Okay. That's at that time period that I do that. Now, they're going to tell me yes, no, maybe so, I like it, I don't like it, whatever that might mean. But at that point, that's when I'm sitting back and just listening to what they're going to tell me. All right. If they have questions, at that time, I'm answering their questions. Well, how'd you get this number? Then I pull out the CMA. Hey, this is the numbers that I have here. Okay. Majority of the time, let me just say this to you guys. How many people in today's society have access? People have access to the probably 100% anymore. So when you're at 100%, pretty much everybody has their numbers already. They already have those established. So they already know, well, I saw this on Zillow, I saw this on Google, I saw this here, I saw this here. I'm like, okay, sounds great. Wonderful. Most of the time they know their numbers. Even the D's know their numbers. The analytical people really know their numbers. So I'm just reviewing it with them. And then at that point, that's when I go over the any type of things, any issues with dealing with objection handling, whether they like the price or not like the price. Now, here's the next question I'm going to ask them. The next question that I'm going to ask them is the most important question. So you better write this down. The question, my most famous question I ask them, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Looks like you got everything here. Wonderful, beautiful. Now, let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. What price point are you not willing to go below? Okay. And then I want you to not say a single thing. I want you to shut your mouths and just listen. Majority of the time, they do not know. But you have to keep that awkward pause, everybody. You got to keep that awkward pause, and you just say to them, what price point won't you go below, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? What are you guys thinking, huh? And then if they don't answer and you get through a very long, awkward period of time, you come up with an extreme number. So if I'm at 415 and I say to them, well, what price point won't go below? Most of the time, I don't know. I really haven't thought about it. Honey, what do you think? And they look at each other. Well, I don't know. I mean, we need to get this for this house. And they start having conversations and they start airing things out in front of you. Sometimes they're giving you information that that the other people haven't had, or they're like, oh my gosh, they just said that. Okay. And at that price point, I'd be like, so 375 cash today, walking out the door, would you take it? Oh my gosh, Brock, no, I would not. Okay, so I go to a financial thermostat script. This is my financial thermostat script. I go to an extreme number. Now, some people ask me, well, what is that number? It's just an extreme. I mean, if 50,000, it all depends on the price point. If I'm at 1.5, I'm going to be a couple $100,000 away. The lower the number, the lower your ratios. But I give them an extreme number. And I just say, okay, is that something, 375? Whoa, okay, 375. Well, let me ask you this then. If you got $400,000 cash, would you take it? And all I'm doing is waiting for them to give me the slightest little, I don't know. No, I don't think so. But see, they already let it out of the bag at that point because they kind of said, I don't know. As soon as they tell me I don't know, that means if I get them, squeeze them really, really hard, they'll go at 400. So I know that going into it, but I don't allow them to think that I know that. Okay, so how about 415? Oh yeah, 415 will take. So now I know my number sits between 415 and 400,000. And so it gives me an advantage when it comes time for negotiating and where I'm at and what I can do and talking about price improvements on where I have. Price improvements are the most important thing, guys. Because at first they're going to tell you no. And that's fine because time has a way of healing and time has a way of working. Okay, so in that case, then I just know at that point, like, all right, I can get to this price. I could do it, blah, blah, blah. Now, once I get done with the table and I pick it out, I circle it, the number, I turn it around, and I'm getting ready for my close. It happens very quickly. I get ready for the close and I say, okay, great. So this is the number that you like here. Now, obviously you saw our marketing. I shared it with you in our pre-listing packet. We're going to do boots on the ground. We're going to do a couple things here. But let me ask you this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Now I'll touch on it I don't really get in my marketing at all. Like I literally am putting the paper around. I circle the price that we agreed on. I circle the number that their net number would be. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, do you feel absolutely confident and comfortable that me and my team, that you're ready to hire us today, that we could sell your house today? And that is what I say. I say confident and comfortable. My team and I, if you don't have a team, just say yourself, that you're willing to hire us today to sell your house. See, the reason why I do it right then and there is because at that point, they might say to me, well, what else are you going to do? At that point, they might ask me more about my marketing and I got to sell myself a little bit more. But they might just say, no, we're really impressed with you. We liked everything that you have here. So why keep talking then if you can get a yes right there? So I say, okay, great. I need you to sign 2 places. And this is what I do for our contracts here and when I teach people. I ask them, because remember, they have no idea what else the contract looks like. They have an idea, but they're going to hire us now. So I say to them, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I appreciate it so much. So we're good with this number here. If you don't mind just signing here. And the other place I need you to sign is on our contract. Hiring us today, we're going to get to this last page here. I'm going to send everything to you electronically. This is the contract here. It's going to have everything in here. I'd be more than happy to go over the entire contract with you when we get it electronically. But the most important things I need here, I need your number, your email address, and your signatures here. Are you okay with that? Yeah, sounds good. Well, here we go. Mine is highlighted. I already have it highlighted so they know. I'm emphasizing it. This is where I want. So for those that know me and been in my presentations, like literally when I get done with them, I get out in my car, I put it on my desk, I put it on my seat, and I take a picture of it. And I take a look at my watch to see my time. And that's just how my brain works. But I only take 2 pieces of paper signed, and then I tell them that my transaction coordinator will get the rest of the contract over to you electronically. Now, there's some more small little details in reference to the paperwork, the MOGs, the RPRs. It all depends on your state. But in the beginning, don't overwhelm people. Your job is to get the paper signed. And then after it's signed, then you talk to them about our process. The transaction coordinator will be in touch with you. We're going to have our media specialist also reach out to you. It might be Lori as well. We're going to get the pictures taken. We're going to get those lined up. We're also going to have your residential property disclosures. We're going to have the property measured. We're going to be working on some different things that we've talked about, blah, 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 blah. I start setting the stage. One of the things I'm going to have you guys write down, know your 7-day plan. Typically, it takes me 7 days to get a listing up if you want it done accurately, professionally, and looking really good. Now, I know somebody's going to say, well, Brock, what happens if they want it listed right away? Well, then I'll get it listed right away, depending on the time period I can get it in. But I don't push it. Typically, I say to them, well, I like to have it done professionally. I like to make sure we get all our ducks in a row. This is the most expensive thing we're selling in your house, right? So it's very important for us to get everything in order. So that way we make your property look really, really good. And typically it takes me 5 to 7 days. I like to have this property listed on Thursday night or Friday morning. So that way we really can drive in some buyers and really work on our search engine optimizing and our marketing plan. Is that something that you're okay with, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? What do you think most of them say? Yes, sounds wonderful. I love it. Great idea. Most important thing, I know I keep saying most important, but a key ingredient, you got to have a plan. You need to have a plan. How many of you remember what's the percentage of analytical people in the society? Does anybody remember what the percentages of S's and C's? 62%. So 62% of the people you talk to are going to like a plan. Okay? I's, they're emotional people, but they too like a plan. Talkers like plans. The only people who don't really like plans are drivers. You just freaking drive it home hard to them. Man, I'm going to sell your house. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to be here next Thursday. Rock and roll. I want your house sold right away. And I really like what we got going on. You ready? Awesome, man. Talk to you soon. Like, you just drive it home, tell them what you're going to do, and you're out the door. They don't like the BS. Now, commission objections. All right, I got about 6 minutes left for commission objections. And then I want to open it up to anybody who has questions for me. Commission objections, the most important one typically is obviously when they say, well, other people are selling the house. I have an LA agent, literally just did one, and expired. I have the appointment actually later today, and it's 1.7 million. And he already told me that somebody else is going to do it for 1%. I said, well, could you please explain to me 1%? Like 1% altogether, 1% on the buy side? Like, what does this look like? When it was all said and done with, the real estate agent just really complicated his head that he really didn't even really understand. He just heard 1%. because that agent was trying to pull a fast one over that person just so they can get in front of them because of the price point of what it is. I noticed when the higher the price point, more real estate agents overpromise and underdeliver just so they can get in the door. So when you hear these type of things, you got to really ask, what does that 1% mean? Is that on the list side or the buy side? Is that all together? Like, what does that look like? Is that a bonus? And then they start saying, I don't really know. I mean, how many different things are there? Well, here they are. And I start explaining to them a little bit more of the process. But to get to the point of if they negotiate their commission, my line is this. Well, somebody else is doing it for 5%. I completely understand. My fee is 6%. But if you want to do it for 5%, we can see what the buyer agent says at 2%. We can go from there. In this market, it is a little bit challenging because it's becoming more of a buyer's market because they can negotiate more. But we'll see what happens at that 2%. See, I will never negotiate away from my 3%. My 3% will always stay at 3%. We will negotiate the buyer side. Sometimes this does happen. And we renegotiate during the offer saying, hey, this buyer agent wants this percentage. They're asking for 2.5% now. Now remember, it's only $4,000. You're going to get $112,000. So is it worth for you to lose this $4,000 with this offer? Well, I mean, we are getting 112. See, at that point, it's easy for me to negotiate a commission on that side. In the beginning, it's too hard to negotiate the commission because I don't have any leverage. So once you have leverage in an offer, then it's easy. That's why I agree. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. We'll see what the buyer agent says. And we'll go from there. Sometimes I just go straight up, no, I can't do anything less than that. It's plain and simple. All my listings now are at 6% unless I have to negotiate, and I'm at 3% and whatever the buyer agent split is. The majority of the time right now, my commissions are listing agent side 3.5%, buyer agent side 2.5%. That's my commission split across the board. We got it 86% of the time last year, and it didn't matter the price point. Did it on a $1.4 million house, 3.5%. Done it on a $200,000 house, 225 at 3.5%. It doesn't matter what price point. If you bring value, you bring confidence, it will happen. Who's got questions for me? Got a couple minutes here for questions. Somebody's got to have something. Everybody's knocking out of the park then? Biggest problem is just getting in front of people.
I like how you position yourself to not go over the marketing plan, right? And you kind of go in with this boldness. And because I do believe that people are hiring people. And if you go in and you're the first appointment and you provide the marketing plan, what stops them from taking that marketing plan to the next agent and the next agent and then forcing the commission down and hiring someone, at a low commission, but getting them to agree to all those marketing tactics? And I think that's where I luckily, knock on wood, I've been very successful in my appointments, but I think that's where I lost my couple, and they were big ones. They were 1.5, 1.8, 2.2. But I do have a question. So I'm validating this approach, and I needed to hear this. So thank you, Brock, because I was kind of on the fence of what to do, where I always went in hard with the marketing plan because I like marketing. I get excited about it. I think I'm unique and creative.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a question for you as far as an objection goes, if it's the right platform to ask. The highest home I've sold is 1.4 that I've closed. When I'm going up to those higher listings, the 1.8s, the 2.2s, and the feedback I've got is, well, you've never sold a property this expensive. How do you handle that objection?
Yeah, so I have that one right now, actually, because he's at 1.7. And so he wants to know, have I sold the property? Yes. Do I have a lot of them? No. I have one of those properties that I've sold in the last 12 years. Majority of my home prices are between 400,000 and about 1.1. That's my wheelhouse. Those are the people I hang out with and talk to. So I told the guy when he says to me, well, how many homes have you sold in this area at 1.7? I said, my team, my company, like who specifically? And he would say, me specifically. I said, is that how you're validating your person on who you're hiring? That's the only criteria you're doing. And he says, well, it's part of the ingredient. And so I just continued to ask more questions. Okay, so the previous person who you hired, I assume you asked the same question. And he would say, yes. I said, then why are you on the expired list then?
Let's go.
And I said, so to me, I'm really not seeing any validity behind that question, because it's the person who's going to have the most energy, who can be creative. You already like my 3-2-1 and my 2-1 plan that I came up with, my buyer buy down. And so to me, you just kind of like, you just absorb what they have. Expireds and withdrawals are a little bit easier because of that capacity. And, you know, sometimes it is like, I don't have that. So if you're going with somebody that you want to be able to have, that has that type of thing, then I'm not your guy. But if you want somebody that's going to be an aggressive, relentless type of person who has this type of mindset, then I'm your person. And then you just, you know, do you get them all? No. Have I lost some? Yes. That's like the most important thing. But that's typically, you know, how I answer those is, and I usually use my company's information when it comes time for that stuff. Like here's what we've done, because typically it is the company's name that goes into that. All right.
Thank
Good
you,
question.
Bob.
All right, guys. Now I am at my lunch, so I have to get ready. If I didn't answer your question and you needed me, like, hey man, I really want to ask this, put it in the chat and I will personally call you this afternoon on my way home and I will answer that objection for you. Remember, if you want our my listing presentation packet, put your phone number in the chat and we will text it to you. If you want our, I forgot what I said, the email. Oh, the seller net sheet, put your email in there and I'll send you over our seller net sheet that we use. And remember, it's the tour, getting to the table, you're closing, or you're doing the tour, the table with marketing, and then you're closing. All right. Important things to be able to get your deal done. You want to try to do it in less than an hour. You can come with confidence and practice this. We're going to be interviewed all day long, guys. You're not going to be the only person. Even family and friends will interview. They won't say it to your face. Trust me, it's happened to me. So just make sure that you practice, you role play, and hopefully you guys are able to pull something out of this and get some good information from it. If you did, please put it in the chat. If you haven't given me a Google review, I won't get upset with you. BrockZevanReview.com. I wouldn't mind getting a Google review from you. And we'll be on our Mindset Morning Show tomorrow morning at 8:15. Guys, I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And we will talk to everybody very, very soon. Thanks, guys.